We've all felt it. The discomfort associated with being judged by others. The random stare from a stranger. The first impression when someone meets us. The moment when we are seen but never really known. At the core of our being lies a deep-seated need for acceptance and belonging. Throughout evolutionary history, exclusion from the group equated to death. This primal fear continues to resonate in our subconscious, making external judgment a potent threat. We fear that being seen negatively could lead to social isolation, loss of opportunities, and a diminished sense of self-worth. We crave validation and approval, particularly from significant figures in our lives. Positive feedback reinforces our sense of competence and worth, boosting self-esteem and motivating us to continue striving. Negative judgment, however, can shatter these carefully constructed self-perceptions, leaving us feeling insecure and inadequate. Judgment often targets specific aspects of our personality, behavior, or appearance. When these aspects are intrinsically linked to our sense of self-esteem and identity, the judgment feels like a personal attack. Criticism of our work can feel like a criticism of our ability, while disapproval of our appearance can feel like a rejection of our very being. Being judged puts us in a vulnerable position where we lose control over how we are perceived. We can no longer maintain the impression we want to project. Instead, we are at the mercy of another person's interpretation. This loss of control can be deeply unsettling, particularly for individuals who value independence. Judgment can create cognitive dissonance, a state of mental discomfort arising from holding conflicting beliefs or attitudes. If someone judges us in a way that contradicts our own self-perception, we experience a tension that we strive to resolve. This resolution might involve altering our behavior to align with the perceived expectation, rationalizing the judgment, or dismissing the judger as biased or misinformed. We are constantly evaluating ourselves in relation to others, a process known as social comparison. When someone judges us unfavorably, it triggers a comparison that can highlight our perceived shortcomings and fuel feelings of inadequacy. While external judgment stings, it often pales in comparison to the relentless barrage of criticism we inflict upon ourselves. This inner critic is a complex entity shaped by a variety of factors. From a young age, we internalize the expectations and standards of our parents, teachers, and society at large. These internalized expectations become ingrained in our psyche, forming the foundation for our self-evaluation. We hold ourselves to these often unrealistic standards, constantly striving to measure up and feeling inadequate when we fall short. Driven by a fear of failure and a desire to achieve perfection, we become overly critical of our own performance. This fear can lead to self-doubt, anxiety, and a paralyzing fear of trying new things. Our inner critic often employs cognitive biases, such as catastrophizing, overgeneralization, and discounting positives to paint a negative picture of ourselves. We engage in negative self-talk, constantly reminding ourselves of our perceived flaws and failures. Past experiences, particularly those involving criticism, rejection, or trauma, can shape our inner critic. These experiences can leave us feeling unworthy, unlovable, and constantly anticipating negative judgment. Ironically, our inner critic can sometimes function as a self-protective mechanism. By anticipating external judgment, we attempt to shield ourselves from potential pain and disappointment. This, however, often perpetuates a cycle of self-criticism and low self-esteem. The inner critic often seeks to control us and push us towards perfectionism. It believes that by constantly pointing out our flaws, it can motivate us to improve and achieve success. However, This relentless pursuit of perfection is often counterproductive, leading to stress, anxiety, and burnout. While we may be our own harshest critics, being judged by others still bothers us, and the disconnect arises for a variety of reasons. While we might internally berate ourselves, we still crave external validation. Our inner critic is familiar, a known entity, but external judgment carries a weight of social consensus. It suggests that our flaws are observable and significant enough to warrant the attention and judgment of others. While we might be comfortable with our own internal dialogue, the external judgment confirms the validity of those fears and insecurities. In a way, it strips away the illusion of control we have over our self-perception and forces us to confront the possibility that others see us in a negative light. The judgments of others often have tangible social consequences, impacting our relationships, opportunities, and overall well-being. Our internal critic, while harsh, doesn't necessarily impact these external factors in the same way. We often believe our inner critic is offering constructive criticism, helping us to improve. External judgment, however, can feel unfair, biased, or based on incomplete information. We feel offended that others have the audacity to judge us without fully understanding our circumstances or intentions. While deep-rooted psychological mechanisms undoubtedly play a significant role, the exhaustion stemming from constant self-regulation and self-criticism cannot be ignored. Constantly evaluating and monitoring our own behavior requires significant cognitive effort. This constant self-surveillance can drain our mental resources, leaving us feeling fatigued and irritable. The constant barrage of self-criticism also takes a significant emotional toll. It can lead to feelings of anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. This emotional weariness makes us more vulnerable to the criticisms of others, which can then feel like the final straw. Chronic self-criticism can erode our resilience, making it more difficult to cope with stress and adversity. As a result, we become more sensitive to external judgment, which can feel overwhelming when we are already struggling. We may be harder on ourselves in an attempt to control our environment and prevent negative outcomes. However, this constant striving for control is exhausting and is ultimately just an illusion. When external judgment reveals the limitations of our control, it can trigger feelings of frustration and helplessness. Understanding the origins of our sensitivities to judgment can lead to a more balanced perspective, self-acceptance despite imperfections, and stronger relationships with others. Managing the complexities of judgment involves cultivating self-acceptance, managing internal criticism, and prioritizing personal well-being. This approach can enhance resilience and improve confidence in social interactions. Remember this, my friends. No one is perfect. No one has a perfect life. No one goes through their life without some type of struggle or downfall. I know that if you're here watching this, you are more than likely the target for judgment rather than the one doing the judging. Please understand this. When someone judges you, they often do so with incomplete understanding of who you are. They are projecting their own biases and misconceptions onto you. This is not your problem, nor is it due to anything you have done. You know who you are, and I can tell you right now, they're missing out on knowing someone amazing. So let them judge, let them criticize, let them have their opinions. It's what you think that's important. How someone else feels about you is irrelevant.